Hey fight fans, welcome back to the channel. We hope you have had a great 2023 and we wish you all the best for the year ahead in 2024. We're starting things off right this year with a very, very special guest. He's part of the coaching team for not only Cameron Simon, but also Dricus Du Plessis. He's a third-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and a Judo black belt. He is none other than Mr. Niel Geyser. Welcome, Niel.
Hi, Werner. How are you doing? Thank you for being on the podcast, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
No, fantastic. I think everybody is quite keen for this upcoming fight at UFC 298, and we're very, very keen to hear your insights into the fight coming up. I guess the first question from me would be, now that the fight's been announced, we're almost there. It's about 3 weeks away. What has the vibe been like in the gym since knowing that Dricus is finally going to fight for the title?
I think the initial our initial thoughts were it was coming. We knew that, and Dricus knew that the title shot was something that was going to happen at some other point. I think excitement was the first thing. This has been a lifelong dream and goal of his, to become UFC champion. So I think excitement is the best way to describe it. I think second to that is determination to see this through. He put this goal out many years ago when he was still a youngster, when he started out, and it's all come together now to a final point where it's actually happening, and he's got the shot, and now he's got to go and do the job. So, but yeah, very excited about the opportunity.
No, most definitely. I remember speaking to him in November, and it looked like the UFC was going to go a different way, possibly having Hamzat, a welterweight, fighting for the title. Luckily, they did the right thing, and they've given Dricus the title shot that he deserves. I just want to sort of know from you guys, what do you make of Sean Strickland as an opponent? What do you think of his fighting style, and what do you think he brings to the table?
Look, I think firstly we got to be honest about the fact that being in the UFC, firstly, you obviously at a very high level. Being a champion, that says a lot. So we know that he's a dangerous opponent. Every opponent that gets put in front of us, in front of Dricus, will be a dangerous opponent. So you can't overlook anything. I think from a coaching perspective, all the people that are involved went and did their due diligence and homework on stylistically, what he does, his strategies, and all of those type of things, like he would always do. He is a good opponent. He's a worthy opponent. He's a tough guy, very, very tough guy. And I think one of the major things is we know he's going to bring the fight. He's going to come forward and so without saying too much, but he's a tough opponent. I don't think you can overlook anybody at this level. But I think on the other side, he's got a worthy challenger, and that's an exciting prospect for South Africa and for us.
Oh, absolutely. You spoke about him coming forward quite a bit, and that's the way that he fights, and he has been fighting recently. But one thing that's quite we don't get to maybe see a lot of is his ground game. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and you being a third degree Jiu-Jitsu black belt and being in Jiu-Jitsu quite a long time, what do you make of his ground game? It's not something we get to see quite often. Obviously without giving too much away.
No, I think anybody can go out and watch tape and see what's available on the internet, and from there you can make your deductions as to his style and what he does and what he prefers and doesn't. So there were definitely certain things that we saw that and scenarios that I think that we might get put in the fight, or things that can happen. I don't think there's, being a black belt, obviously he knows the job, he knows what to do. But there's no significant submission threats with him. I think his ground and pound is, he can obviously throw ground and pound, and yeah, there's certain situations where he does groundwork, goes into wrestling. He's got certain things that he does there that's interesting. So his Jets game, I just think he hasn't had an opportunity due to his fighting style to necessarily showcase his jiu-jitsu in MMA that much, and it might not be a preferred method of fighting for him in that space. But I don't think that he doesn't know what to do. I think the question for him is going to be where he wants to where he would like the fight to take place, and then for us, how we're going to navigate all the different situations, be it then striking, wrestling, the grappling, jiu-jitsu, whatever you want to call it. So, but there's definitely, I think there's a few things that I've seen on what he does that's interesting for us that we can work with.
Look, I think what a lot of people outside South Africa maybe don't realize is just how good Dricus is on the ground. I mean, I remember watching both of you, so Dricus competing, and I think you were cornering him at the Submission Kings event, the local event, where he took out an entire Gracie Barra team single-handedly. And that's when he wasn't even oxygenated, for lack of a better term. I honestly think, just from a grappling point of view, obviously there's everything combined in MMA, and I think he's up there with everything in MMA. But just from a grappling point of view, I think a lot of people don't understand that there's probably not many people, if anyone, that stacks up with him on a grappling standpoint in that middleweight division. Is that the way you see it as well? Just from a grappling point of view, maybe not too much for this fight, without giving obviously too much away for the fight that's coming up.
Look, I think from my perspective, I might be biased, but like you say, the Submission Kings was that tournament was quite interesting. I was coaching the team at that through that event, and he, like you said, he did take out the whole team. I think Dricus is well versed in all aspects of the game. If it's going to be a striking fight, he's got the necessary tools to get the job done. If it's going to be wrestling, scrambling, again, there's no lack of skills there to get the job done there. Similar on the ground. I think people don't necessarily understand just how good he is, because he's not a pure grappler necessarily. He's an MMA fighter. But he can hang with the best people with regards to jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, in the world. So I think from our perspective, we need to prepare as a coaching team. We need to prepare for all those aspects and be ready and able to take the fight wherever the fight, we feel, or Dricus will feel in the moment where the fight has to go. And he has to have a way of winning the fight in any one of those areas, be it then striking, wrestling, or jits on the ground. So there's no one skill set that I would say nowadays you can't really fight like that anymore. I think that's more the old guard, where people were heavy in one skill, and then the other skills were kind of brought up to a level where they would be able to navigate it. But nowadays, the amalgamation of everything, how dynamically you can put everything together, that's the new breed of fighters, and that's definitely where Dricus, is as a fighter in his skill set. So, do I rate his groundwork? Yes, 100%. Do I think he's world class in grappling? Yes, I do. But he chose to be an MMA fighter, and he needs to be able to go wherever the fight has to go to get the win. And that's basically how we see it.
Just to go back to Strickland for a second, I had to get your thoughts on this. I don't know if you saw the bit where he said, jiu-jitsu is useless and he wants to throw his black belt away. I was wondering if you had any, if one, A, if you saw it, and two, if you had any comment on his comments.
I saw some of it in the media. Yes, I think there's a bit of context that's probably needed in the to understand why he made those comments. I think on to a certain extent, um, he's got a point in a certain context, because pure jiu-jitsu, gi grappling is very different from MMA. And I think you can have a black belt in gi jiu-jitsu, but you will still get your ass whipped in an MMA fight. So there's certain aspects that you need to be aware of. It's very different. So I can understand in one context why he would make such a comment. Although I don't necessarily think it's 100% correct. On the other side, I think, and this is where context comes in, you also got to understand that Strickland is a guy that's going to say a lot of things to get a lot of traction in the media, and that might also be a way to do that. So I don't really understand or know what his mindset was and his thought pattern was when he said it. Was it just something to put out in the media to get some attention? Was it something that he actually means? But if it is something that he meant, I can understand to a certain extent why I would say something like that. I do feel there's certain guys that do jits and think because they've got a high level in jiu-jitsu that they'll be able to do MMA, and that's not the case anymore. You need to be an MMA fighter to do MMA, and jiu-jitsu is an integral part of it. But then you've got to do jiu-jitsu that will be effective in MMA. And gi grappling, oftentimes, you find positions and grips and all those things that even the speed of the game is very different from MMA.
Right. And on coaching now, just for you, obviously with Dricus and Cameron specifically, and the rest of the MMA team, there's a very heavy MMA focus, I would assume, when you're coaching. Do you coach sort of everybody similarly, where there's a focus on MMA, or is it just different for different people depending on what their goals are?
I think one methodology or mindset would be to take jiu-jitsu and try and adapt it to MMA. I think that's the way it was taught for a long while. I personally don't teach it like that. So I teach grappling. The style of grappling that I teach you would be able to use in self-defense, in MMA, in gi and no gi grappling. So I look at the techniques and and the concepts that I teach, that it must be able to work in all of those aspects. If it doesn't, then I don't spend too much time on it. Then I do something different. So that's why I'm comfortable if Dricus says to me, listen, I want to go do a grappling competition. That won't be a problem, because he's not doing MMA jiu-jitsu, he's doing grappling. And depending on the rule set, we can adapt to that. And we work conceptually, we work on principles, we work on movement. So I've got a very different approach in my jiu-jitsu, specifically because I've got such a large variety of people that I work with. I work with guys that are starting out and don't know really what they want to do with it. I've got guys that want to compete. I've got guys that are doing MMA, and then I've got people that are doing it for self-defense. So because I've got that spectrum, I think I found a way that I can teach a specific way that I can go through all those different modalities depending on on what's needed or what somebody's goals are. And that's kind of where Dricus finds himself. Obviously, with him, we do a lot of striking, MMA-based positions and stuff like that. But in general, it's still MMA. It's just the awareness of where somebody's arms and legs and whatever will be. Because if I leave some of these things open, then obviously that can turn into a strike.
No, most definitely. It's always interesting to see the different ideas and priorities that people have when they're training jiu-jitsu. For me as a hobbyist in any event, it's completely different. I just wanted to find out from you, with the press conference now, there was a lot of antics with the trash talk between Dricus and Sean, and then the fight in the crowd, which may or may not have been planned by the UFC. But what did you make of the press conference just as a whole, the trash talk, and then obviously then the fighting in the crowd?
Look, I think everybody, knew that Strickland's going to say a bunch of things to try and get under Dricus's skin. We were wise to that. We knew that it was coming since the fight was signed. We knew that there's something coming somewhere along the line. We didn't know exactly what it was, but we were prepared for that. Obviously, Dricus holds himself and carries himself in a certain way, respectable. So we didn't really want to get involved in those type of things. But at the same time, you also need to stand up for yourself. It was interesting that Strickland got triggered so quickly and so easily, as because he always does it with other people and gets them triggered, and then gets under their skin, and they start fighting or being emotional about things, and then fighting emotionally, and that obviously creates a lot of openings and causes problems. So we were wise to that. I think the altercation in the actual arena was interesting. I think it was probably planned from Strickland's side. It's just an opinion, to try and get back at Dricus, or get under his skin. But I do feel in any fight, one of the big things that you don't know is what somebody feels like, and that you only find out in the fight. And I think it was a nice opportunity for both of them to have a feel of what they're up against. Let's just say that, and that's actually might be a very positive thing for us. So where I think Strickland wanted to use that to his advantage, I think that's the second time that things didn't go his way. Although it's not a fight, the actual fight yet, but I do think that Dricus is in a very good position, at where he stands at the moment before the fight.
Now, 100%. I think also, with this fight, there's something that's become abundantly clear is like his confidence in each fight is just growing and growing. And he's supremely confident, particularly now. I mean, he was in the Whitaker fight, but there's something that feels different about this fight, and it almost feels like an air of inevitability for him to win this fight. Have you guys seen him growing in confidence in every single fight, or has it always kind of just been a thing where, he's always just been a confident guy and backed himself in his abilities?
Look, I think we're very, very fortunate with Dricus that is an exceptional athlete and human being, and he's got an amazing skill set, not only physically but also mentally, which is not something that's often talked about in the fighting spectrum. But I think he's a guy that since I met him, he's always been improving, and he's got really good people around him, and fight for fight, camp for camp, he's just always been improving. And I think it's not so much just a confidence in this fight at this moment. I think it's a general confidence in who he is, and what he's capable of, and it's been something that's consistently growing, and something that was cultivated over a long period of time. And so I don't think it's something that he became confident now. I think it's something that the confidence was building, but it's building as he's growing as a fighter and growing in himself, and that's an amazing part of of this journey, and being a part of his journey is how he's been able to constantly improve over the last how many years that he's been fighting. So a lot of respect there. That's just his mindset. His mindset is constant growth in all areas. And then on the other side of that, he's got amazing people around him. He's got an amazing head coach in Mornay Visser. He's got, from strength and conditioning people to doctors and physios and other coaches. And he's just got a lot of people around him that are, that are all building into this, this dream of his, and his career. So I think it's just having a growth mindset. That's the one thing that and it just keeps on improving, and that's it. It kind of shows us confidence now, but it's a lot more than that. It's not just confidence. It's not just the motivation. It's those things are fleeting. It goes much deeper than that.
Oh yeah, look, we're definitely looking forward to Dricus becoming the first South African UFC champion. And I think the excitement just keeps building and building. And with us just being a couple of weeks away, we really can't wait. Are you gonna go with the team to Canada, or are you staying here?
No, no. I'll be staying at home. I'm not going with. They've got their guys designated now. There's some training partners and stuff that's going along. So no, I won't be going with. But I do when he's away, I do speak with him. When he's there, and we stay in touch, and I kind of have an idea of what's going on in the training sessions and all of that stuff.
Well, we're all looking forward to watching Dricus win the title. I said to him in November, I think it will be on par with, or maybe even bigger than the Springboks winning the World Cup. It might be probably to me it's tougher than even Bafana winning the Football World Cup. But anyway, I know it's going to be something special. I think he's going to probably put him away within 2 or 3 rounds. I don't see it going past the second or third round. I know you guys will be prepared, and he'll be prepared for wherever the fight needs to go, whether that be 1 round or 5 rounds. And we're just all really, really looking forward to it. I know it's going to be something special, and I'm sure for you, having been there from the beginning of the journey, it's going to be even more special to witness.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's amazing. I'm also super excited. I really feel, and I think everybody around him also feels the same, that this is his time. He can do it. It's well within his reach. So it's going to be amazing for the country. It's going to be amazing for MMA in South Africa. So yeah, I'm confident that he will get it done. The round and the way that the fight's going to go, that's very hard to predict. I hate doing those things because you just don't know. A fight's a fight, and anything can happen at any moment. I do feel very confident that whatever happens, he will have the ability to problem solve the situation and get to the right answer to be successful and become champion. So yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be able to work with an athlete of his caliber. And yeah, now it's time.
It's definitely time. Niel, I thank you so much for the insights, and thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I look forward to watching Dricus lift the title. As I said, it's just under 3 weeks away, and everybody here is behind you guys. And hope to chat to you soon again. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Neil. Cheers.
Bye bye.